A done deal for the next Celtic manager? Motherwell's boss is being called the obvious choice, and you need to hear why. Plus, Ange Postecoglou's mysterious no comment has got fans dreaming again. Callum McGregor faces another match on the sidelines, and Viliami Sinisalo is about to make the longest journey possible just to sit on the bench. It's been a dramatic few days, but first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Celtic goalkeeper Viliami Sinisalo will make the long-haul journey to New Zealand with Finland later this month, only to find himself on the bench. The 24-year-old has been named in Jacob Friis's squad for the upcoming FIFA Series matches against New Zealand and Cape Verde in Auckland. The Finnish keeper stepped in when Kasper Schmeichel was ruled out through illness and has started the club's last 3 matches. Those performances were enough to catch the attention of his national team manager, who openly acknowledged the role the goalkeeper now holds in Glasgow. Friis said to the Glasgow Times, "But the plan has always been for me that if our captain Lucas Hradecky is back fit and playing again, he will be our keeper in New Zealand. That likely leaves Sinisalo competing with Palermo goalkeeper Jesse Joronen for the role of understudy during the trip. Lucas Hradecky, the long-established Finland #1 and national team captain, recently returned to fitness and is expected to reclaim his place between the posts for the 2 matches in Auckland. The trip itself is no short-haul exercise. Finland face a long journey to New Zealand for the fixtures, something that often raises eyebrows among clubs when players are called away. Celtic supporters will be well aware of the impact international travel can have, especially at this stage of the season when fixtures continue to stack up. Friis admitted he had expected some pushback from clubs given the distance involved. "We have a real luxury in terms of our goalkeeping position now. No clubs have contacted us about pulling their players out because of the length of the journey, although I must admit I was expecting that." For Sinisalo, the call-up is still another sign his standing is improving. Only weeks ago, he was waiting for opportunities behind Kasper Schmeichel. Illness to the veteran has since opened the door, and the Finn took his chance. He will head away with his national side at the end of this month, carrying fresh recognition and growing confidence. Even if Hradecky remains the first choice for Finland, Sinisalo's current trajectory suggests his role with both club and country is only moving one way. Now for the main story, as Celtic fans will be delighted if Motherwell boss Jens Bertel Asko becomes the club's next manager. That is according to ex-Aberdeen, Aston Villa and Everton chief executive Keith Wyness, speaking exclusively to Football Insider, who would back Asko to be a success at Celtic Park. Martin O'Neill will step down from his role as interim manager at the end of the season after he steadied the ship following the disastrous reign of Wilfried Nancy. Asko could become the next Celtic boss after impressing during his first season at Motherwell, with the Steelmen 4th in the Scottish Premiership table and 10 points off league leaders Hearts. Jens Bertel Asku is the obvious choice for Celtic, according to Wyness. Aberdeen's former chief Keith Wyness, who served as CEO at Pittodrie between 2000 and 2004, had lengthy spells as the chief of Everton and Aston Villa, and now runs a football consultancy advising elite clubs, believes Asku would be an excellent pick for Celtic. Speaking on the new edition of Football Insider's Inside Track podcast, Wyness thinks the move to bring in a manager with Scottish Premiership experience makes sense. He told Football Insider's Inside Track podcast, "I think he is the obvious choice because he is now aware of the SPL. He understands that he's playing great football. He's exactly what the Celtic fans would want to see in terms of football philosophy. I think he would be an excellent pick. It makes, as I say, so much more sense than bringing somebody in from the MLS. So I think that's going to be pretty much a done deal, and I think he's the right one to go with for Celtic." Celtic make goalkeeping decision sources have told Football Insider that Celtic could turn on their plans to sign a new goalkeeper in the summer transfer window. Viliami Sinisalo has impressed since replacing Kasper Schmeichel in between the sticks, and the 24-year-old may now become the club's #1 for the long term. Sinisalo remains unbeaten across his 9 appearances in goal this season and is expected to stay in the team when Celtic host Motherwell next. In other news, Ange Postecoglou's recent response on live television will not quieten the Celtic supporters who still harbour hopes of seeing him back in the Parkhead dugout one day. The Australian's football left a deep mark on Glasgow. His Celtic side played at pace, attacked relentlessly, and lifted the mood around the club after a bleak period coming out of the COVID season. Few expected him to win the league in his first season. The squad was being rebuilt, the pressure was heavy, and the early weeks were chaotic. Postecoglou delivered the title anyway. A domestic double arrived in that first campaign. A treble followed the next season, capping a short but dominant spell where Celtic controlled Scottish football and did it with a clear identity. Supporters remember the football as much as the trophies. That is why even the smallest comment from Postecoglou still grabs attention. He was working for TNT Sports this week during Paris Saint-Germain's Champions League tie with Chelsea when presenter Reshmin Chowdhury put a playful question to him. She asked if he would ever go back to an ex. Postecoglou simply replied, "No comment." The remark was delivered with a smile and was clearly aimed more at Tottenham Hotspur and the chaos around his old club than anything connected to Celtic. Still, the answer was not the outright dismissal some expected. Postecoglou appeared on the overlap recently and sounded far more definitive when the idea of returning to Celtic was raised. On that occasion, the door looked firmly closed. Even so, many supporters would welcome him back tomorrow if it were possible. Reality says it remains a long shot. That should not stop Celtic from at least asking the question. The job awaiting the next permanent manager looks substantial. The scale of the rebuild feels similar to the summer of 2021 when Postecoglou first walked through the door. Several loan players are expected to return to their parent clubs. Several established names look close to the end of their Celtic careers. Change is coming either way. For now, the focus remains on the pitch. Martin O'Neill's side are still locked in a title fight and chasing Hearts at the top of the table. Nothing else will matter until that race is settled. Once the season ends, attention will quickly turn to the dugout, but the Hoops hierarchy should have their targets set well before then. Roberto Martinez has already been linked with the position. Motherwell manager Jens Berthel Asko is another name that has surfaced. Celtic supporters have lived through a strange campaign filled with uncertainty. In a season like that, the idea of Ange Postecoglou walking back through the doors at Celtic Park might feel unlikely. But after that, no comment. It is not something that can be completely ruled out either. In other news, Callum McGregor is set to miss his second match in a row this weekend, leaving Celtic with an uncomfortable question: who steps in to run the midfield? It caught plenty off guard when the captain was missing from the team sheet for Sunday's Cup quarter-final at Ibrox. There had been no hint beforehand that McGregor was struggling. Word filtered through via Premier Sports that it was a recurrence of an old issue. That alone raised eyebrows given the occasion. Former Celtic defender Charlie Mulgrew fears the problem could be serious, suggesting an Achilles issue may be behind the absence. The thinking is simple. McGregor does not sit out a fixture of that magnitude unless something is genuinely wrong. Kieran Tierney also missed the trip to Ibrox, although Martin O'Neill believes the left-back has a better chance of being involved this weekend than the club captain. Supporters will now wait for clarity on McGregor's condition while wondering what the midfield will look like against Motherwell on Saturday. Rio Hatate, Luke McCowan and Benjamin Nygren started the derby and helped Celtic on their way to the shootout win. It was not a game where the visitors dominated the middle of the park. Hatate covered ground everywhere and dug in when the match became scrappy. Celtic needed that edge at times. McCowan and Nygren did not last the distance. McCowan came off after 57 minutes while Nygren was replaced in extra time after struggling to impose himself. That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.